To stand and stare. You bought new shoes and you did up your hair. You made a real effort tonight and it shows. I can tell by your face you don't want to be alone, cause the mood is right and the time is now. And if you can't do it, I'll show you how.
The role of head of music at Radio 1 came up. I competed for it. I got it. And for just over 10 years, I was head of music at Radio 1. Being in the management team there, I was dealing with all the labels, artists, music policy. I was invited to Stockholm. I thought it'd be rude not to pop into Spotify. I went in for a Friday afternoon, and literally a week later, they rang me up and said, do you want to come to Spotify? And I bit their hand off, I'll be honest, it was time. So I joined initially to run the UK and Ireland editorially and all the playlists, etc. And then within a year, basically, they gave me everywhere outside of the Americas. I wanted in the end, or chose in the end, to join Apple, a company that had always fascinated me. So I spent nearly 6.5 years at Apple, running all of basically music in the UK for Apple, for the UK and Ireland. At the end of that period, I decided I would set up my own portfolio career, which is where I'm at now with the Sound Hack. Is there a scientific formula for making a hit song, or what makes a track stand out? And of course, they're not necessarily the same thing. I mean, you hope that a track that stands out might become a hit, or a hit in certain circles. At the end of the day, it's impossible, because as an art form, it's still a human, largely based art form for humans. And that makes a big difference. There's unpredictability in there. There's real life in there. There's all kinds of elements that at the end of the day, machines to machines, that's a whole different thing. The production itself is going to have elements in it that make it really different, exciting, interesting, etc. Because if the base underlying song itself is so good that it's open to reinterpretability, clearly you've got something from the get-go. It's about the lyrics, it's about the melody, the structure, the hooks, all of that base level stuff. The first 10 seconds matter. And oh my God, we're in an attention era, right? We're bombarded with content all day long, every day. And music's no different. That first 10 seconds has got to grab you. Certainly the algorithm's looking at skip rates. It used to be, in my era, Spotify, believe it or not, a little bit more humans looking at data. It's slightly less humans looking at data now. They do. I'm not saying they don't, but the algorithm's doing a lot of the work, as you know. And there's no doubt that grabbing attention quickly on an intro matters. Also for radio, it's always mattered, I'll be honest. It has mattered. Current example, so Olivia Dean, Man I Need, the most streamed song in the UK this year. But let's have a quick listen to this intro. Straight away, she's hitting you with the vocal. She's taking an extract from the chorus, putting it right up front, a little bit of instrumentation, a little bit of the melody, and then straight into the vocal. So it's super short, tight, grabs your attention from the get-go, and it's a showcase for her. There are two kind of traps that you can fall into. If you're too familiar, you sound like everybody else, or like lots of other things in the market, there's a danger of you becoming invisible. Now, this always happens, of course. A sound becomes dominant, other people take elements from it and copy it. It can work. It can work in the market, there's no question. But ultimately, to stand the test of time and really, truly stand out, you've got to think carefully. On the other hand, if you're too experimental, you can really confuse a listener, confuse the audience, confuse your fans. You need to be in the sweet spot. Something recognizable, and then add a new twist to it. It could be sound choices, it could be vocal delivery, it could be lyric perspective, it could be genres coming together, it could be you've added a new rhythmic feel. This is a formula that has real value. Our subconscious is normally doing some work when you hear a new song. It's, do I understand what this is? Or if you're a gatekeeper, an editor, a DJ, is this for my audience? Some of this is conscious or becomes conscious, some of it is subconscious. If any of you read this book, have heard of this book, This Is Your Brain on Music, this is really worth a read. Basically, Daniel Levitin started as a musician and moved from the sort of production artist side into being a neuroscientist, concentrating on music. It really breaks down in a kind of every man, kind of way, general reader kind of way, what is going on in terms of neuroscience and the brain. So many things, like culturally, by the time you are 5, as long as there's music in your culture, wherever you are in the world, China, Indonesia, Japan, Russia, the UK, US, doesn't matter. You actually pick up and learn the knowledge base of what is right and wrong in music, and you intuitively understand it by the age of 5, which is absolutely mind-blowing and fascinating. And it differs from culture depending on tonal scales, expectations, chord structures, etc. But his most important insight, I would argue, and really relevant for what makes a song or a track stand out, is that your brain is actually a prediction machine. And the reason for that is chemical, not surprisingly. Dopamine is the most interesting of all the chemicals because obviously, as you all will know, I would imagine, it's part of how the brain essentially rewards you to motivate you and gives you pleasure. And it is released strongly with music. Basically, anticipation of moments within a track. And it could be because of the innate knowledge you have and that a track surprises you, or it could be once you even know the track, you still then have the anticipation of, oh, that bit's coming, psychologically, subconsciously, but dopamine gets released. And this is a really, really powerful tool in terms of how you structure a song. And standout tracks feel familiar and fresh at the same time. Too predictable, it's boring. Too random, you switch off. Identity in sound. And what I mean by that is a track comes on or a song comes on, and it's more, again, than the production or the melody or the hooks or the rhythm. It's also the bigger worldview that very quickly after you first heard a track, you start digging into and thinking about whether it's the voices, the characters behind the song or the track, the worlds they're building. There's a track, there's a song, there's multiple, obviously, potential songs from an artist. But what they want and what ultimately fascinates people, it's all about what's underneath the surface of just hearing a track for the first time. How do they position themselves in the world? What insights are they trying to deliver? What are they making me feel? And this is why I personally am super optimistic still that in the era of AI, human artists are absolutely unquestionably still going to survive, because they cannot, outside of one or two outliers where humans have deliberately set it up, have that genuine backstory full of insights and a life lived and relatability. They can't do that. They can only mimic it and mirror it. And ultimately, although there are avatars out in the world, right, for some people of artists already, the reality is that if you're a music fan, and I reckon based on historic data, say in the UK, 17% of the population say actively they can't live without music. I don't think that percentage is going anywhere personally, because we have such an emotional, strong tie with music. Ultimately, the artist's story, the reality of who they are, their being, their essence, everything about them is still fundamental as a difference. What are you bringing to the table? Because if the track could belong to anyone, it won't belong to you. That isn't for everyone. Not everyone can achieve this, but you've got to think about it. What are your key points of difference? And there's so many things to play with. You may not be gifted with a voice as distinctive as Dizzy, but you've got to think about what else are you doing, both with your music and equally probably with the marketing and your personality and who you are and how you represent yourself in the world, so that you are going to excite people. And this is about how context also ties in rather with context changing everything, because we usually don't hear tracks in total isolation. Very often you're going to be hearing it after another track or in a playlist, or if you're a DJ or curator in an inbox. Context and timing really, really matter. A great record at the wrong time is not necessarily a hit. An average record, on the other hand, at the right time can be enormous. Although this is another key thing. You often hear songs at a key specific cultural moment. And this is really important, because throughout your life, there will be moments where a song deeply resonates and connects with you, and forever you will remember that moment. And this is going back to the book I told you about a minute ago, Daniel Levitan. He talks about this. Music links incredibly strongly to autobiographical memory. So you will find that there are songs, like I say, that you will associate them with a key moment in your life. People use songs because it elicits an emotional moment. I wanted to be able to say to people, don't be afraid. If you want to do something, just go ahead and do it. Don't sit around waiting to be asked, to be given permission Just get out there and do it. And that, I find, if you're an artist or thinking about making a track, that's got to be inspirational. Be obvious, be loud, make it chantable, in other words, hooks, make it simple, make it impossible to ignore. And here's the ultimate challenge, really. Have you created a moment worth returning to? That's the final question. Is it good enough that somebody out there is going to want to hit play again and again and again?